Ooh, I like our new intro. It's cool, man.
You see that? You hear the ping? I
Yeah,
pulled so Jazz obviously aware of this for those listeners. They've deadened the bats significantly since what they used to be.
right.
So I got a ping off of someone swinging a bat from the '90s. That's why it
Thank
pops like
God.
that because you don't get that pop anymore.
No, you know, as a matter of fact, I know this for a fact. Like, obviously, we've been at the games and we can tell,
Yeah.
but dude, I was at a high school game this week. At, my local high school, my alma mater was at that game on Tuesday, and the bats they sound like they're cracked. They
No, it
sound
does.
dead. It sounds terrible.
If you ever like hit a tennis racket with the cover still on it, that's what it sounds like.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Also, should we say why you were at your high school on Tuesday?
Oh, I mean, we can,
Hey, you
sure.
want to brag about it? I'll do it for you, my man.
Yeah, you can brag about it.
Our boy, all right. Well, Jazz is being bashful over here. Our boy here, state championship team was honored. So him and his crew got that together. Was at his alma mater's
24
game.
years.
24 years anniversary of them winning the championship there. So and again, for those that aren't aware, winning the state championship before is a big fucking deal. So
Yeah. Those are good times. I'll tell you the highlight of that season was there was a couple highlights, obviously, but I think the first one is the way we handled one of the I mean, it was a loaded team. It was that Southridge team that had Robert Andino. I'm sure everybody knows who that is, right? Robert Andino was on that team. They had a guy named Omar Falcone on that team, still a buddy of mine now, good friend, one of the best catchers in Florida that year. They had a shortstop, Tablado, who committed to Raul Tablado, who got drafted like in the third round that year. So that was one hell of a team, man. Baseball was fun back then. There was a lot more talent, and it was a different game. It was a completely different game. -7 bats. Now they use -3 bats. Go figure.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm also under the weather.
Yeah. Jazz is playing hurt. We're gonna power through here.
Oh yeah, but good times, and then we beat the number one pitcher in the nation that year, who got drafted. He was the number one overall pick, and I believe it was number one overall or number 3 overall pick in the country. He was the number one pitcher in the country, Sean Burnett, who actually he was drafted in the first round, first overall, if I'm not mistaken. Or third overall, whatever. Point is, he was first round pick and ended up pitching for the Pirates. Was drafted by the Pirates that year, and then was over at your neck of the woods. He was a closer for the Nationals for a little while in the early 2000s. So yeah, that was fun, man. That was a great. If you've won a state championship down here, some of the guys have won it. Obviously, the Gullivers and the Westminsters and Columbuses in the world. It's like winning the national championship, right? Like if you don't get to play college baseball or pro baseball, it's like that, man. You get to play in a major league baseball stadium, minor league stadium. You get to have a parade, have rings, and it's fun. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's something where you become a family. It's not just teammates anymore. Those guys are my brothers for forever now, right? For the past almost 30 years now. So It's fun. Baseball's a beautiful sport. It's amazing when you win, and I think the Canes need to start doing a little more of that. But
This team is like impossible to figure out. And
they really are. It's driving me crazy. It's driving me crazy. You got a team who comes in and does what they did last weekend against Virginia. By the way, I mean this comeback stuff, this cardiac king stuff. Enough with it, okay?
dude,
Like I
cannot
said,
fault like
it's gonna bite you in the ass. It's gonna
it
bite you.
did. It did on Sunday's game.
Yeah.
You can't fall behind 4 runs in every game and like think you're.
Or 9 runs. I think you're
I
gonna
mean,
come back.
9 runs. It was a miracle comeback, but it was at least 4 runs in each of those games. Actually,
Yep,
came back and took the lead in all 3 of them, and then
crazy.
couldn't hold on Sunday. But like, I mean, you're not going to keep making these comebacks, and
It tells me one thing, right? It tells me a couple things, but the first thing that it tells me is obviously we can hit, right? We got a good offensive team. Sometimes they get it going a little later than you want them to, but the team can hit up and down the lineup. Even some of the guys that are struggling, Costello and Carrier and those kind of guys are, they can still hit the ball, and you're seeing them score runs, manufacture runs. It's not all via the long ball, right? Although it's helped a lot, obviously, but
yeah.
um,
What are your thoughts on? So, is it just
it's
me, or like has left field always been you just hit a pop up and it carries out over the scoreboard, or like is
that
it just
it's
like
wild.
what the hell is going on out there? It's not
Well,
just us; it's the opponent too. It's just like
yeah,
what the
it
fuck?
happened at right
It's just
field also though. That kid Saki or whatever his name was
yeah.
hit two balls that should have been pop flies, and they
That
went
ball is
out.
jumping out of the light. Like, what the hell's going on there?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know if it's like El Nino or something, but this thing is going. It's just like,
Yeah, I feel like the wind has kind of shifted over there, but yeah,
yeah,
I did
everything
notice
is
that.
the ball is carrying. So, like, some of these are like, that's a pop up, and it's just like, okay, it's gone. Never mind.
Yep, 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 yep. I don't
All
know.
right.
I don't know what it is, but as long as it helps us more than it helps the other team, that's fine.
Well,
However,
it's been marginal in terms of
right,
whether it's done there
exactly.
or not. I
It
mean,
really hasn't. So it's
it'd be interesting to see. We haven't obviously we've only played the one road game at FIU, but FAU, sorry. But when we go and play like real road series, it'll be interesting to see if our
right.
pitching looks a little bit better and our hitting looks a little bit worse. Because I mean, Mark Light's always been slightly hitter friendly, but nothing like what we've been seeing
Yeah.
this year, where double digits are showing up for both teams multiple times. It's just that's not normal.
It's a little weird. And at the beginning, I would say maybe 2 weeks into the season, I would have said, hey, this is a little bit different than how it was last year, right? Last year, we couldn't figure out a rotation. But our bullpen was half decent, and we had the best closer in the game. And then the first couple of weeks, I'm like, okay, well, maybe we've got a good rotation. We've got a young bullpen, some guys that are hurt. That might be our Achilles. And, Walters isn't back yet. Nick Robert looks good, but he's a freshman. How much can we expect from him?
Well, I
And
will
to be
say
honest, I
also,
don't know. The pitching's been, it hasn't been great either way.
yeah, and just to add to that, like, I mean, Robert, sorry, it's singular, pitched in every game last weekend. Like you say, he's a freshman. Like you cannot continue to use a freshman that much.
Right, right, right.
The ball's juiced. I mean,
The
we have no
ball's just,
evidence of that, but the
but
one thing I would say is like I don't see this happening universally at like other teams
right.
parks where Dwyer got injured.
Yeah, he's hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, he's hurt. I think
We'll try
he's
to
not
get
out
some
for
more
the
info
year,
for
right?
that.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out who's healthy and who's not. Obviously, Brian Walters came back, so that's good. He did struggle a little bit in one of the games this weekend,
Right,
but everyone did really. No, I agree. I just haven't seen it across other teams as well, where everyone's
right.
doing what. That's why it feels atmospheric. I
Yeah,
mean, I have noticed certainly because we've both been to quite a few games out there. Like the flag is dead blowing out. It seems like every time I'm there. So there's
right,
definitely, that's playing a factor as well. And also our pitching is not good, which is also playing a role. And we have a lot of power bats between like Sear and Cuvée and Torres, who can elevate the ball up into that wind and have it carry. And we're
right,
seeing a lot of that, which is obviously good for us on the hitting side. The pitching
right.
is, like you said, it's it's a problem. And especially we're talking about Robert. I think he's excellent, especially for a freshman. Just
I
you
agree.
can't throw him every game like that. Like it's just like
You're gonna wear him out. You're gonna wear him out.
yeah. Well, they kind of did last week, and like he got hit on Sunday after he was lights out the first 2 days. It's just like yeah, I mean, 'cause it was multiple innings too. It wasn't like he
Yeah,
came in for and eventually everyone gets hit eventually. So
of course. I mean, yeah, I think the focal point has to be on that pitching staff. Like, what is, what's going on with the starters, right? Giving up early runs. Although I will say this also, right? The defense isn't really helping much either. Because
no, and
if you look
that's
at the scoreboard, you see the under E, you see one or two every time, and
our
those one or two are
shortstop
very
position.
significant. Yeah,
Our
that's a tough
shortstop
one.
position, whether Urso or Jimenez, has been a struggle.
It's
Um,
yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do there.
I tried them both. I mean, Urso was specifically brought in as someone that has like a lot of experience. You don't expect to really be booting the ball around the field.
Right,
Yeah, I mean it has been, and neither of them are great hitters either. I mean, Jazz
right.
and I've talked about this before about potentially, putting Sear out there at short. Um, I mean, from a
I
fielding
don't see them
standpoint, it's
doing
not
it
gonna.
though.
No,
They've
no, they
had the
don't. They
opportunity.
don't. Or if you don't want him playing short, slide Dorian over. Like I don't think it's going to be much worse than what we're seeing
Doran's a hell of
out
a
there.
fielder. He may not have the range, but again, like you said, right? Like
Yeah,
it can't be much worse than it is right now.
I mean,
So
we were booting balls that are hit right at us, and then the. I mean, Dorian has played third some this year, so I don't think we're worried about his arm.
right.
So I would slide him over and put Sear at second if you don't think Sear can play short.
Look
And
at
because
he
as much as like Sear's not a great fielder, he played second base
yeah,
basically all of last year and was
yeah,
fine. Wasn't
right,
anything great, but it was fine.
right.
And what we're seeing right now, like Chaz says, is not fine. We're throwing runs away. We're throwing runs away,
We
and the
really
pitching
are.
is bad enough without that. Well, especially like you mentioned, this if our pitching staff has a strength, it is the starting pitching, and they're not getting helped out. And one of the reasons they're giving up a ton of runs is basically, I mean, they got to stick with them until they get knocked really out of it because
Right.
you got no one to go to. So you'll see, normal situations they give up some runs and like I get the bullpen going. Nope. These stars are getting 6 innings one way or the other. It's like they give up 10 runs, they're still going 6 innings. It's just like there's no one in the bullpen. So some of that is also, for when they don't have it or they start getting hit, they still gotta keep pitching.
Right.
So that's inflating their ERAs a bit. But yeah, no, the pitching. I mean, there's not really a pitcher you can rely on at this point on the staff.
Right now, you don't look at anybody and say, "Okay, that guy's going to shut it down." And and not only that, like you've got your quote unquote reliable um, relievers are hurt, right? Julian Hernandez,
Yeah.
Drew Dwyer, those kind of guys that could eat up some of those middle innings, are not there. So you got to put in somebody. You see Caruso did a decent job the other night, um, and you can get like one solid inning out of Brandon Oliveira, but even then, right?
Sometimes he
You're
gets
not
he gets
convinced. Yeah, sometimes
yeah.
exactly right. He came in right. He came in against the UVA, and in the first hit, he gave up a double right off the bat, and then he kind of settled down a little bit. But you got to get guys that are going to come in and go right after him. And those are really your guys. Crowther hasn't really done much yet. I know he started against FAU, struggled
Yeah.
a little bit. Kaba,
Well, they did. I mean, we should
also.
mention they did finally get Chestnut out of that midweek starting
Well,
role.
yeah, that's because
Lost
he
again
threw during the
anyway.
weekend.
I mean, that was funny that we won that game because we basically put him there because like this game is over.
We said it, right? We talked about it. I go, why is he in there?
Well, this I mean because the game. I mean, it was already 8-3. I think when he came in, he gave up another 4 spot. It's like whatever. Then we came back and won anyway.
Unbelievable, man.
I mean that those 2 comebacks probably. I mean we're still sitting at 9-7 even with that, but
Right.
that is the only reason we have a pulse right now is those 2 comebacks because we are over 500 in ACC play. The only weekend series we lost was to UF, and it was a 2-1 series. It wasn't a sweep, so we have some decent stuff behind us, but easily could have been swept by UVA.
Right.
And then you're like really in deep shit. So kind of lucky to be where we are.
And now you
at
face
this
another
point.
top 15, right? Another top 15 team
Yeah,
in North
another
Carolina.
another
So.
another top 15 team at home, and then coming off another midweek loss. That's 3 midweek losses already,
We're
and
1-3 in the midweek. That's
yeah,
unacceptable.
yeah,
And
and
I know it's
that's
against good teams, but it's unacceptable. You got to win
no,
those
and
games.
that's the type of stuff that is going to, depending on where they finish, cost a regional host or cost you the tournament. Like the first team that missed the tournament that ended the streak did so because they kept losing in the midweek.
Right.
And so while on the high level, obviously the weekends matter a lot more. When you start getting into seeding or who's in, who's out conversations,
Yep.
then that stuff matters at that point.
Agreed.
Like if you're in there, if you win every weekend series and lose every midweek, you'll probably be rated fine. But we're not doing that too, right? I mean, we're dropping other games, and to your point, on the only midweek game we won was that big comeback against Stonehill.
Unbelievable.
And we've rescued multiple games this year just to keep afloat, and we got to start playing better in the early innings.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is how they come out, right? They're not coming out.
Right.
They're coming out. I mean, you can say whatever you want, whatever the cliche is, flat. They're coming out flat. They're not coming out with intensity, yada yada yada, whatever it is. Bottom line is you got to hit early and you got to pitch early, because you can see that this team has talent. I'm not really concerned per se. I get upset. I get pissed off more than anything because the talent's there, and we spoke about it with David, right? When David Gill was on the show, that they're young, they still have to learn. The pitchers still need to learn how to pitch a little bit, and they got to learn how to win some of those games, and they're doing that, right? But at the end of the day, when you need a shutdown inning after you score 6 or 7 runs, the pitcher needs to come out and throw a shutdown inning. Bottom line, like you have to do it. That's baseball 101. And if you're getting quick outs and then you're walking a guy with 2 outs, that's unacceptable, right? If you're hitting a guy with 2 outs, that's unacceptable. Go right at him. Go right at the guy. And I think that they're just thinking too much up there, and not just and not pitching. And some of the guys are doing a good job. Like we mentioned, Nick Robert is doing an excellent job. Walters, he's just gotta kind of
He's
get
just
into
coming
rhythm.
back, so
Yeah.
yeah.
But he looks good, right? He's 94 to
He's got good
96.
stuff, yeah.
So the 3 guys in the rotation need to learn. Well, Gabe Zio's got an idea. He actually threw half decent.
Yeah, he's kind of settled in a little bit now.
He has.
He's never gonna be like that. Oh, this guy's gonna have an ERA under 1 and just
Yeah.
blow people away. But he's solid, and he'll eat innings on Friday and get you into the later part of the game in the game still, and that's kind of what we need from him. Rafe has been a little bit of a disappointment, to be honest, because even in the first series, he got hit a bit. They're getting a lot of contact off of him,
Right.
And then Herrick also
And you'd think that with that arm angle, he'd be with that arm angle he'd be a little better. Especially against lefties.
I mean, we don't have these are the 3 guys who are just gonna have to.
Yeah, they're not bad. They're not bad.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know that they're good pitchers. We saw what they've been able to do, but they just got to put it together a little bit and be a little more efficient on the mounds and not not give up those 4 spots and then settle down for 2 or 3 innings and the hitting not come around until the 5th or 6th. You got to do a little bit better than that.
Yeah, and also just to just have to frankly start the games off well. Like you said, we fall behind every game. Like it'd be get a 1-2-3 in the first inning,
right?
Get back up to the plate quickly. We're not doing any of that. Like you said, even when they don't score, it's like there's the 2-out walk or the shortstop boots a ball, and even if it doesn't listen, it just takes takes the pitcher out of the rhythm that he needs to string those shutdown innings together, because we just haven't had that. It feels like even when the other team doesn't score, we're scrapping out there. Right. And it's like we don't have a lot of clean innings.
No, we don't. And hopefully Laz and JD kind of sit down with those guys.
I mean, it's a long season, right? And that's the
still early. It is.
Yeah, and we have a lot of injuries. Like people will come back, and then that'll allow them to stabilize the rotation, which again will help a lot because as a starter, knowing that you have to get to the 6th, 7th inning because there's nothing behind you.
Right.
Like that's a lot of pressure that these once we get some arms back in the bullpen, they won't have. on them, because right now it's like if they're smacking the shit out of you, if you're pitching great, you're still going deep into this game because there's just no choice. And that we saw that with Rafe on Saturday last week. Like he ended up giving up 7 runs because they were making contact. He was scrapping, and normally in that situation, it was a tight game at that point. You're kind of like, all right, well, go to the pen. We're in this
Right.
game, fourth, fifth inning. Nope, you got to keep going, man, until they finally it caved in on them. And that's
Well,
the situation
I
where
think
generally you take them
Laz
out.
and JD know. They know
Yeah.
that their pitching is limited. So if they can hold off and get 6 out of them and throw,
Well,
and
they
get
almost have to, right? It's almost
yeah,
like even if
yeah.
you go to the pen, it's just going to be worse than whatever they're doing.
Yeah,
So
it's
you might as
Robert and
well just
Walters right now, the guys you can depend on, and Walters is just coming back.
yeah.
So, it's
I think Kaba's all right.
yeah, he's all right.
Russo's all right. I mean, there's some guys you can kind of put in a little bit, but uh, um, and so that is I don't know who Walters is. Word is that Walters is willing to come and keep JD as pitching coach. I'm not sure who's Walters.
I'm not sure. Is he talking about the guy from Wake
Oh, he's
Forest?
talking. Is that his name? Is his name Walters?
I don't even remember now.
I don't know. He'll hear it. The chat's on a little bit of delay, so I'm sure he'll
But
hear it.
the whole was willing to come back and keep JD. He was willing to keep JD as pitching coach. Yeah, JD wasn't going to stay on as a pitching
Coach,
coach.
yeah, heck,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
here's
He wouldn't have stayed on as the pitching coach, and
and
they said that without saying it. It wasn't.
and anyway, look, the team. It's early. The team is 9-7, which isn't great. They are, they've won their only ACC series, and I get that everyone's frustrated. It's not been the best start. It's also not been the worst start. It could be a lot worse than it has been, and I think I think what I get it. Everyone's like, oh, why is JD that? It's academic at this point. It doesn't matter. He's the coach. So, he's got really good assistant and pedigreed assistant coaches. And, the pitching, I don't know that any coach is making this pitching.
Much better.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, the pitching is a gap right now. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I've heard it's not really just Smash Bro. I mean, we know him from Twitter and stuff. We talked to him. It doesn't really direct at you. Definitely, like if you read Twitter, I don't know if you read Twitter halfway through the Stonehill game a week ago, but it was like,
oh yeah. Excuse me, I remember that.
Yeah, it was just like fire the coach is the worst hiring we ever had, and then like 3 days later, we had won an ACC series against the top 15 team. It's like, yeah, maybe they cut down a little bit. I think there's multiple things going on here. Like, I do think, again, there's big money at some schools, so it's not as easy to get people to come down here. But also, I mean, look, Jim Morse came in 94, something like that. Like, I mean, we have not exactly been conducting head coaching searches around here to know. I mean, we went and got him from Georgia Tech. At that point, Miami was clearly a better job, because it was still independent back then. You play 5 million home games a year and like one road series against FSU, and that's it.
Right.
And you're going to Omaha, so right. And so it's been a while since we conducted a head coaching search. And the thing with Miami is, as much as people were upset with Gino, this is upset with top 10 teams his last 2 years. So you're sitting there at Wake Forest, you're sitting there at Duke, and they're paying you a lot of money, and you're sitting there certainly in SEC school, they're paying you a lot of money. Frankly, like the pressure is worse at Miami. Like, we're trying to fire the coach for losing a home regional and they finished 9th in the country. It's like, okay. The tuition's always been a thing. It's no different. And a lot of these kids can get like half scholarships academically.
I mean, we can sit here and talk about how recruiting needs to be better, because look, Florida gets some of the guys that throw hard. Look at that pitching staff, 94, 95, they get drafted in the first round. We don't have that because our guys get drafted and they leave and yada yada. I mean, I get all of that, but at the same time, we're still top 10 recruiting for the most part, right? We're still, we're hosting regionals. We're a top 10 seed, top 10 program in the country. I don't think I want to sit here. I don't think it's. I'm going to sit here and say we're not what we used to be. Um, yeah, it's been a little bit since we won a national championship, but I mean, it's tough for me to sit here and say we're not what we used to be. I mean, things have changed. A lot of things have changed, and to be quite honest with you, considering everything that has changed in Miami, Miami baseball is still where it's at now, as opposed to look at football, right? How much shit has changed in football. Look how much worse they've gotten. Miami has continued to stay consistent and win. And whether they won national championships or not, we're talking about this is a team that's gone to Omaha 8 times in the last, what, 10, 15 years or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's I think
You
15,
know,
15, 20
uh,
years. Yeah.
I mean, how many teams can say that, right? Not a lot. Not many teams can say that. It's like saying you mentioned this Fish the other day. It's like saying, Miami football goes to the college football playoffs 8 times in the next 15 years. I'll take that any day, wouldn't you? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
uh, it's just a matter of perspective, and I think that they're still doing a great job of recruiting, of getting guys here. So um, I'm happy with where the
Yeah,
program
and
is.
I would just say on a macro level, I understand there's some challenges with Miami. There's also a lot of advantages, and I don't think we have a talent issue on this team. I think we have an injury issue, and we're trying to sort through the pitching staff.
Yeah, and
We are scoring a ton of runs. So the hitting is there, and the
yeah,
pitching we're working through some things, which hopefully by the end of the season, we've got solidified roles and rotations and stuff. But like when you look across the board, like you said, I think what was our class coming in next like this year? It was ranked top 10 for sure. It might have even been higher than that. Like I don't, and so I mean, look, the bottom line is we hosted regionals last 2 years and threw up down the front of our jerseys against teams that were way worse than us. So
yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, man. Like it's like we just blew home games. Of course, one was to the eventual national champion in a one-run game, and it's like that's regionals though.
I'm
So I
trying to
mean,
look it up here. 2024 season, right? 2024
yeah,
recruiting class.
I think is it considered 23 or 24?
I think it would be 20. I guess 2024. Let me see. No, it's 2025. I mean 2023. I think it's 2023. So it's got, yeah. Let me see, because it's got Nolan Johnson there. So let me see. Yeah, 2023. I mean, you had guys like Adrian Santana who got drafted in the first round. Boom, gone.
Yeah,
Tayshawn Walton. Boom, gone. Signed. You had Jordan Vargas, Alex Stanyek, Eric Fernandez. He's a shortstop, but he's a big kid, 6'4", 200 pounds. Yeah, there's an opportunity here. JT Caruso, Chris Diaz, Nick Robert, AJ Goitia, Kulikowski, Reyes.
well, that is a very
Yeah,
strong
this is a
class.
damn good class, and I'm trying to
Yeah.
find.
So
I'm
and
trying to
again,
look.
I'm just not seeing it, man. I know you're saying a bunch of things that are factually true, but I'm not seeing the negative effect of it. Like we need to pitch better. Like I don't really think there's really anything else, and I don't think there's anything defeating about how many people UF puts in the middle of
I think
nowhere
that's the
in
bottom
Florida.
line. We got to pitch better. You're right. That's it. That's the bottom
Yeah.
line.
And last year in the last couple of years, the bats died in the postseason and it hurt. And that's the one of the challenges with baseball is it's not meant for small sample size, but there's no way to do an extended postseason format. So you get into these, and we see it in the majors, you see it in college. Like a
Sports
regional
Illust-
format is
yeah.
not the best way to determine who the best team is, but we're going out there playing it anyway, right? So
Right, right. I think Sports Illustrated had us as top 7 recruiting class in the
yes, I
country.
mean the talents continues to come in. It's really a matter of executing. And we said David Gill talked about this. Executing pitches, learning how to pitch. Like there's a lot of work that needs to happen here.
Yeah, I think that's hopefully it'll sort itself out real soon. But I think
I
that
was also there on that Saturday, and there were definitely not more UF fans than Miami fans at that game. There were a
no,
lot
it
of
was
UF fans, but it was not more. They all
yeah.
sat together in that corner, and so it looked like if the whole rest of this anyway. All right, we don't need the skies falling bit yet. We're 9-7. UNC's in town. What do you think, Jess?
Top 15 team. We've actually played really well against them the last couple of
Right.
years, right? I think we sweep them last year, or the year before.
I think we
Um,
swept them 2 years ago, and I think we took 2 out of 3 last year. They are
right.
coming in on an 11-game win streak. They're 16-2. They have lost a weekend series. They did lose 2 out of 3 to East Carolina, and then have won 11 in a row since then. A lot
Okay.
of close games. Like they swept Pitt last week. 1-1 run game, 1-3 run game, 1 extra innings game. So
Okay.
they're not unbeatable. Their pitching's
No.
a little bit. They haven't run their pitchers deep into games. They have a rotation. The top 2 guys have been starting the whole year. The third guy they only started the last couple of games, so they kind of made some changes there. But none of them have been running deep into games. They've been doing 4 or 5 innings. So
Right.
it's there's I think the pitching is there for the taking, especially in this ballpark where apparently you just make a little contact and it goes out.
Crazy. Crazy.
Now they do hit for high average. 8 of their 9 stars are over 300,
Okay.
and they've got a lot of power. They've hit 22 home runs in 18 games. So
Okay. Miami's hit 36. We got them there.
yeah, well we know the
Uh,
ballpark. How many have we given up?
oh God, we've given
It's
up quite
probably
a
near
few
that.
too.
It's probably
Yeah.
near that, right? This park is playing well.
Yeah. This is true. Um, yeah. Again, look. Bottom line is they got to pitch. Obviously, the bats can't go silent now. All of a sudden, we get good pitching, right? It doesn't work that way, but
That's the reality of it. Like the reality of it is we got to slug our way to some wins
we've
now.
got to. We've
But
got to, and let the pitching kind of sort itself out and see if we can. Because look, truthfully, I truthfully believe that if we can kind of figure it out a little bit on the mound, we might have a pretty good, we might have a pretty good opportunity to take this thing a little further than we expected. Because you see that there's some talented guys. There's some talented arms that are just not figuring it out yet, if you ask me. Because I think a kid like Jordan Vargas, well, he doesn't throw very hard, but he's got some sick, sick movement. He's got some sick English on his pitches, right? Everything dives down. If he can figure it out to kind of continue to do that and be more effective and more efficient with his pitches, yeah, he's going to be pretty nasty. He's going to be hard to hit, right? You got Kaba from the left side, Caruso from the left side. Even Cinta, came in this past weekend and did okay. So you've got some arms there. If you get Dwyer and Julian Hernandez back, now you might be able to go a little deeper. You might not have to go with some of these guys that you might not be seeing pitch right now if it wasn't for Dwyer and Hernandez and those guys. So Kaba and Crowther, you want to continue to see them progress. And the guys up at the top, right? Your Friday, Saturday, Sunday guys have to come in, and they have to be. They just got to be more competitive on mound, and they've got to be able to hold it down. Um, and not put the hitting in a position where they have to continue to come back or score 25 runs to win.
right, or
So
it'd be nice if we put up 8, 9 runs and the game was over, and we could just use some of these spare arms to eat the innings. Versus, okay, we've now taken a 1-run lead because we've erased like a big deficit. The other thing Smash Rose says that I agree with, like I think compared to last year,
that's
actually we have
perfect.
a
Yeah,
lot
that's
more
great.
options.
Yep,
It
yep,
took us a while to get to last year, if you recall, to get to okay. We can rely on Torres. We can rely on Lecarica. That wasn't the case at the beginning. They kind of grew into those roles, but
yep.
then after that, obviously we had Walters, but that was it. Like even Rafe was not someone who really relied on. He
No.
walked a lot of batters, and
He
it
had that
was
well,
it
he
was
had
kind
that
of like
one good game against
yeah,
Texas, and that put him on the
Texas.
map.
Yeah, and but before that, I was really like, okay, it's got to be Torres, it's got to be Lecarica to get the game to Walters. And this team, we haven't had anyone establish themselves like that yet. We're
Right.
like, all right, we can rely on this guy, but there's a lot more options. There's certainly the potential that by the end of the year, we have like, oh, there's 5 guys you can rely on out of the bullpen. Last year was really 2, other than Walters.
I think that's a great take on what Smashville says there about a team that can get hot. And I'm a big fan of that, right? I'm a big believer
Yeah.
in teams that get hot at the end are the teams that go the furthest. And you play good baseball during the year, but if you start to get hot towards the end, you really start pitching well and keep hitting the ball. Yeah, you're going to be dangerous. Nobody's going to want to face you, right? Nobody wanted to face Clemson in the ACC championship game. Kind of ran into them, and you saw what they did. So I think that you've got an opportunity to just, kind of let this season play out a little bit. It is early now. Of course, if you go out, if you play this weekend and you roll out a goose egg out there, you look like crap, then that's a different story, right?
Well, then you're again like the record, because the midweek game is taking away, the losses is taking away margin for error, because like
Right.
you're already 9-7. You kind of need to
You
win
could be
this series.
12-4.
Yeah, you could be 12-4, but if you go, geez, you're trying to lay a goose egg and you're coming out of the weekend 9-10 with another series loss, and you're now 2-4 in the ACC, you're in a lot of trouble. So, and the schedule, we talked about this, weird schedule, a lot of home games, but a lot of the toughest games as well. So, starting going UF, Virginia, North Carolina, it's all at home, but man, no one's doing that 3 weeks in a row and start the season like this. This is a lot.
Well, and then after this, they go on the road, right? After this, they go on the road.
I think it's. So. I think I'll look real quick. I believe it's at Notre Dame next after this.
Right.
So yeah, and they finally will play I mean, obviously they played at FAU, but that was a midweek. Yeah, it's at Notre Dame, then back home to host Clemson.
Okay.
Then at Duke, who's a top 10 team.
They're very good as well.
Yeah, and then at Florida State, who's undefeated.
17-0, unbelievable.
Yeah, you're not going to get any breathers in this.
After having such a bad season last year, right? We're talking so much crap about FSU. They sucked last year.
I mean, they've kind of had the I mean, look, we've been losing to bad teams in the midweek, so this is an excuse. But they've had like kind of the opposite schedule to what we've had. They've had it much easier. We've had a exceedingly tough schedule to start the year, which is is what it is at this point. So our RPI is 15th. Again, that does take. Wait, they haven't run it this year. They don't have one for this year yet. Pulled up the RPI, I was like 15th, and I saw a record. Yeah, I think more data has to seed in to get that, but I'm sure our strength of schedule has got to be insane at this point, which will feed into the RPI. Yeah, no, Stonehill is bad. The other ones, like you said, I mean, again, we talked about this a lot. Like everyone in Florida can play. So if you're playing these, like, oh, we're gonna get this local school on the midweek. Like we got FIU next week. That's not gonna be easy on the midweek.
Yeah.
So yeah, you gotta start winning these. Just because
let's see what happens, man. Let's see what happens. I'll try to be out there this weekend. We'll see how I feel if I can kick this in the next couple of days.
Jazz is playing hurt tonight, but we'll see if we can get out to the light.
We'll see what we can do. But aside from that, make sure you guys go out there and support the Canes. Again, we'll try to do this next week again, whether it's early in the week or late. But we'll try to figure it out. We'll talk about it.
We'll get it in there. Yeah,
we got another midweek game and then Notre Dame. So this is going to keep going. This is going to keep rolling because Miami's got a tough schedule. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, like I said, it's at Notre Dame, and then it's come home to play Clemson, then at Duke, then at Florida State. Like this is, it's a joke. Actually, is what it is.
Freaking crazy.
We do finish the season with Pitt, so if we're still alive at that point, we can lock up some wins there. No, it's going to be if we and awesome. Go support the team. Everyone join Smash Out at the park. But I will say, like, if you can, it's just about stacking series wins together. Because if you look, this is a really tough schedule. It is very possible to like. We can talk about we've been blowing the midweek. We haven't looked great. All that stuff. If you come out of here with like you have weekend series wins over Virginia and North Carolina and Clemson and Duke and like then all like.
Now you're sitting pretty.
Yeah, now I mean, so this is also an opportunity. You just wish it wasn't all right at the beginning of the season like this.
I know it's tough, but maybe this will build some character and make these kids grow up fast and make them be that much better. So we'll see what happens.
No, it's true, especially with the young team. It's good to rip the Band-Aid off.
Exactly. Let them know where they can follow us while I blow my nose there, Vish.
All right. So we're at Canes on Deck on Twitter. The at 5 Reason Canes podcast is where all of our content is. We didn't have Sixth Ring this week because the basketball team decided to torture me one last time by coming into town to lose the ACC tournament, which was randomly in DC. So we had a couple episodes of live buckets that are on the podcast feed as well. But yeah, we'll be back with football on Monday. So if you just subscribe to the 5 Reasons Canes podcast, you'll get all the football, basketball, baseball content. And yeah, it is. Women's team is on the bubble, but should make the tournament. The men are obviously way out.
Yeah, they're gone.
I know exactly what Smash Bros is talking about. We're not going to do that. You could just send that to Melissa.
Not gonna even touch that. Yeah.
Just we saw it and we're just like, you know what? That was my Melissa.
That was our resident firewall. She's our resident firewall for this kind of stuff.
Well, she tweeted out, "I'm not dealing with idiots today" or something like that. That was in reference to that. Yeah, we're not touching it. But yeah, so we'll obviously it's baseball season, so the show is the priority. And I'm pretty sure that we're the only ones doing baseball coverage weekly like this. So yeah, definitely stick around here for your baseball coverage throughout the season, through into the regionals, the supers, and Omaha as the Canes.
Yeah. Oh my God. We'll see you guys. Next week on that. Later. Yep.